Hey besties, welcome to Plot Twists and Punchlines, the podcast where we bring you laughs, comfort, and questionable takes.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Mel.
Two best friends here to distract you from the world and talk about life, books, and everything in between.
So grab your blanket, your drink, and your emotional support book boyfriend.
And let's get into today's episode.
Hey guys!
What's up?
We want to say Happy Mother's Day and
Yes.
Happy Mental Health Awareness Day, and a special shout out to the moms who are suffering from postpartum depression, anxiety, and psychosis. Because, moms don't have it hard enough.
It's not funny, but just the way that it was presented, man.
I take nothing seriously. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, genuinely. So, happy Mother's Day. And
I also suffered from really bad postpartum depression, so I get it, guys. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had postpartum and antepartum. So I had. Oh, actually, a lot of women get antepartum anxiety.
I've never even heard of that.
I feel like I told you about this, where I used to imagine people just coming up to me and punching me in the stomach.
Oh, yeah. I do remember you saying that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then I told my doctor about it, and they're like, "Oh, that's normal. It's fine." I'm like,
Okay.
"Oh, okay,
I'm just
cool."
suffering here. You can't do anything for me? That's crazy.
Yes. So I just wanted to
Wow.
give a special shout out to you guys because I understand how hard that is. And then a very, very special shout out to all of the minorities and people of color who are suffering from mental illness, because you guys suffer the most. I say you guys as I'm not one of them.
Right.
And especially Black men, because you guys are the ones who are treated the worst and diagnosed the least.
Mm-hmm. So we're not going to tell you today, but we have some exciting things happening soon.
Yes, and they will be announced next week.
Yes. Let's just talk really quick about how last week we said we were going to go pet a baby sloth.
We went to go see the baby sloth. We went there.
Mm-hmm.
The advertisement was, I don't know if I misread it. It said to come see the baby sloth for $10.
Right.
So we assumed it was $10 because
That's
it
what
was
said.
$10 to get in, and then
Right.
$80 to pet the baby sloth.
And you had to schedule it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you had to schedule it. And I know I said it was 5 months old, but some babies are fully grown by that age.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know anything about sloths. That sloth was a baby still.
So small.
Adults should not be touching it.
Yeah.
I don't
agree.
Even if it wasn't $80, I would have felt weird picking it up because it was
so small.
It was so tiny.
Mm-hmm.
I would have believed that it was 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
It was tiny.
It was very small.
So I did not like that at all.
Mm-mm. But we did get to see the adult sloth, and there is a picture that's going to be posted this morning.
It was so cute. I also have, do you have any pictures of the baby sloth? Because I have some.
No,
if you want to.
I don't.
Okay, I'll send
I
them
have
to you.
one, but you can't really tell it's a sloth. It just kind of looks.
You can't. It was huddled. It was
but it was
curled
so
up in
small.
a fetal position, sleeping when we went to go see it.
It was
a
cute, but it was a
so
baby.
cute. It was a baby. So I don't have any good pictures of it because it just it was a ball of fur because of how it was sleeping.
Right.
So I did not like that. I'm not saying that it was unethical because, again, I have no idea anything about animals. I'm just a dumb bitch who says things. It's just that I felt uncomfortable with the situation.
Yeah.
But my feelings really mean nothing in that situation because I don't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, it was in the proper, it was stored properly, for lack of a better word.
It was in a separate cage next to his mom's cage. So it wasn't in the same cage as its mom, but its cage was touching its mom's cage.
I don't think the adult was the mom.
You don't think so?
No.
So where would they have gotten this?
I think they literally just adopted this baby sloth because nobody else would, or it was just an opportunity.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm also just sometimes a dumb bitch who says
I feel
so.
The owner was this is the mom.
Maybe.
And then she was yeah, she doesn't like to be held. And then she started talking about how...
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Also, we stumbled upon the sloth. We were not supposed to be in there.
Dude, we literally broke into this woman's office. Accidentally.
So awkward. The door was unlocked. We walked in. It's fine.
They told us so we asked other Patreons, like, where the sloth was, and they're like, "Oh, it's in that office, someone just takes you in there." We're like, "Oh, okay." Well,
Okay,
they said it was,
cool.
like, in this building,
Right.
and then, somebody, like, had taken them in there, is what they
Mhm.
said. They were like, "Yeah, it's in that building by the front. Somebody took us there, and we got
Yeah.
to see it." And we were like, "Oh, okay." So we just, like, walked
Walked
into the
in.
building. We were not supposed to.
No, the owner was like, "Oh, the door is" it was awkward, real awkward at first.
She wanted to kick us out, but she
She
didn't.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It was very Step and Mel coded.
I There was no sign that says, "Don't come in."
There wasn't.
There was not. There was a lock on the door,
Mhm.
but it was
It
open,
was
so
not
we
locked.
assumed we could go in.
Right.
Because why would we think that the animals would be locked back there?
Anyway,
Anyways.
so that's the tale.
So, no, we did not get to pet the baby sloth, but we did get to see it and its mom, and they were
Yes.
both very, very cute.
Yes.
And we got to, brush horses because they let us
Yes.
brush the horses, and that
And we
was
got to
fun.
pet other animals. It was a good time. I still had fun.
Yeah, it was fun,
Yeah.
and it was only $10 to go in, so it
Yeah.
was really great.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but we both have a lot to talk about today.
Yes, let's get into it. So, have you ever heard of the Cabbage Patch Kids?
You're gonna hate me, but yes, I have,
Okay.
and I know them.
Okay. And do you know like a lot about them?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry.
Okay. I have never heard of like the theories behind them. I obviously know Cabbage Patch dolls. I
Yeah.
had one when I was growing up. Um, so most of us born in the 80s and 90s remember the Cabbage Patch dolls.
I
Some of
owned a few
them,
of them as well.
yeah, yeah. Some of them would like actually eat things. Some of them blinked. Mine had like a scented head.
Mine did too, it smelled like strawberries.
Okay, I don't remember what mine was supposed to smell like. I remember it smelling like baby powder. For some reason, I think it was supposed to smell like roses.
Those do not smell the same.
Well, that's what I remember. So,
Well, you were also probably a kid, so maybe you, like,
yeah, I
put baby
was.
powder on it, like, trying to change its diaper
Right.
or something like that.
Yeah,
That could be it.
maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, so we all know Cabbage Patch dolls, but they didn't just come from like some toy company or some toy maker who created Cabbage Patch. They came from a mystery that started all the way back in the 1800s.
Ooh, what I'm talking about today is also from the 1800s.
Mm, creepy.
Today, we're just gonna be oldies.
Yes. So, first, I'm going to talk about the facts, like what actually happened and things that actually took place. And then I'll get into conspiracies about the things that actually happened.
Okay.
So, it starts back in the 1800s with something called foundling hospitals. These were hospitals where people could drop off their babies, kind of like the fire station right now,
Yeah.
So people would drop off their babies if they didn't want them, and they would be raised in these hospitals and then eventually sent out into the world to find families. So it was kind of like the first, like where the foster system kind of started.
Yeah.
Um, they used a device called the foundling wheel, which is basically like a drop box that allows the baby to be placed into the wheel from the outside, and then it spins and they go inside. And
Yeah.
then baby. The parents remain anonymous and babies are just sent through the wheel from the outside in. They were seen as like charitable, as good, you
Mhm.
know, it's as a way to like as an alternative of um abandonment and infanticide.
Sorry, 1 second. Just so you guys know, this is still a very real thing
Mm,
at police stations and fire departments. There is a place where you can put babies in
yes.
this box where you can give up your baby safely and anonymously. They will not come find you,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have so many babies still ending up in trash
I
cans
was gonna
and
say,
dumpsters,
don't
so
put them in the
please, please,
garbage.
please share that
Just
information. You can take them to a
yes.
fire station, and they will ask no question. They
Yeah.
won't even see you. You just
Nope.
put them in the box. A bell rings when something's put in that box, so they will
Mhm.
get them immediately, and
Yep.
you just leave.
Yeah. There's no.
There's a screen. They cannot see you.
Yeah.
So Please, please, please stop putting your babies in
Just
trash
don't do
cans.
that. Just don't do that.
There are ways to safely get rid of your child.
Yes.
And no judgment if you want to. Being a parent is hard.
Nope, that's up to you. So yeah, these were like seen as very like a good thing,
Yeah.
right? Um, so now we're gonna jump ahead to 1853. A Yale College graduate and philanthropist named Charles Loring Brace founded the Children's Aid Society. This was founded from him along with other social reformists in order to just help provide for children who during this time there were so many orphans. And this all started on the East Coast, like New
Mhm.
York, Boston. Um, During that time period, there were thousands upon thousands of orphans just kind of roaming the streets, displaced from their families, trying to survive. And they wanted to stop that. So
Mhm.
they created this foundation. Some of these kids even formed gangs, like for protection, because it was
Mm.
scary to live on the streets. It wasn't safe. And they would, I mean, there's a lot of backlash from the public about, oh, these kids are begging and
Mm.
looking for food and how dare they want to survive.
Ugh, these poor kids with no money are asking for food. How dare they?
So, yeah. So, um, children as young as 5 years old would be arrested for begging in the streets, for fighting.
Mm.
And then when they were arrested, they would be placed in lockup facilities with adult criminals. They didn't have like a separate. So
Of
Charles
course
was like,
not.
we need to stop this. um, so in 1854, they started what we call today the orphan train movement.
Okay.
Um, it wasn't originally called that. It wasn't really called anything. It was just known that orphans would get on these trains and be transported. Um, I can see it in your eyes. um, so between 1854 and 1929, over 200,000 children were transported from areas like New York and Boston to rural areas in the Midwest.
Mhm.
Um, It was believed that the opportunity for success was there for these children and it would be beneficial to the Americans trying to settle in the West.
Mm.
So basically, he was like, "Hey, you guys need help and we have a bunch of kids. What do you say?" Now I know what you're thinking. We'll get into that. So, during the same period of time, around 1850, there was a huge push in America for technological advancement, for
Mm.
further advances. Um, a man named Stephen Tanier saw chicken eggs in an incubator in Paris and thought, I wonder if this would work on humans. So he invented the first ever human incubator. Um, but as most firsts, his designs were flawed. They would get too hot, they weren't stable, they weren't
Mhm.
sanitary. Um, so then came along Alexander Leon, who made some improvements to the original design, and he ended up being the one to run the first baby incubator exhibit in Paris, France. So he would basically charge people to come into his hospital and just look at the babies in the incubator to show, like, look, this technology is awesome. We can save premature sick babies.
Yeah.
Um, This technology, it was huge and very well respected because now they had a way to save babies. A few years later, enter a man named Martin Coney. He said that he studied medicine in Germany
Mhm.
and he kind of just brought the incubator like hustle to America. So
Yeah.
essentially what this guy did is saw that this man in Paris was making money for charging people to come look at children in incubators. So he was like, I want in on that. um, so he started putting premature and sick babies on display. First display was believed to have been in Omaha. at an exposition there.
Mhm.
It was very successful. And then in 1904, Martin opened Coney Island, where he ran exhibits until 1911. Um, and these were like the most popular. They would happen at like world fairs and stuff like that. They were the most popular exhibit.
At this time, if they found dead bodies and they didn't know who had died,
Mhm.
they would put the dead bodies on display too, and that was just,
Mhm.
like, common where people would go hang out at the morgue to go look at the dead body, and they would, like, just
Yeah.
drink coffee while they're hanging out
Yeah.
near all of the dead like, that was, like, their hangout spot, like,
I
at
know.
the morgues where these dead bodies would be on display, so this is just
Yeah,
crazy.
and where these babies were displayed would be, like, close to like, this is a time where human displays were a thing, so they had,
Yeah.
like, a Native American human display and, like, crazy, just, like, insane.
Humans are wild,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, I mean, we have to learn somehow, right? But curiosity also killed the cat, so that maybe isn't the best way to learn. Um, so yeah, thousands of people would line up to see these babies in incubators, and there was also a big push for adoption at that
Mhm.
time because again, there were so many kids. They just didn't they needed families.
Yeah.
Um, so Martin in America was considered like a pioneer for saving these babies that
Okay.
apparently hospitals couldn't treat. So he was praised. And then around 1911 is when the incubator fad kind of slowed down, and then the orphan trains slowed down in the 1920s. So, all in all, during this time period, really the goal was pushing adoption, trying to help all of these displaced kids. It was also about saving babies that are premature and allowing them to grow up and live. So, all of the men who were involved, not just Martin Coney, were highly praised for their work
Okay.
because everyone was like, this is so amazing. We're doing so many great things.
Yeah. Mhm.
Conspiracy time. So, first, the tales about, like, how we tell small kids where babies come from. So, like, the stork dropped them off.
Yeah.
They just show up at your front door in a basket. Um,
Have you gotten to the episode of, Glee yet where Brittany thinks that?
no.
Okay.
No, I actually haven't watched that show since a long time.
Ah.
Yeah. Um, so we have a history of not really putting a whole lot of merit into how the babies got there, just that they're there and time to raise them. Um, so first, we'll go back to the foundling hospitals. I mentioned the device that they used was the foundling wheel,
Yeah.
meant to be anonymous. What I didn't say is that the babies themselves often showed up anonymous as well. So babies would be dropped off without names, without witnesses, and without efforts to trace their origin, which was weird in that time
Okay.
to people. Um, In some regions, the number of infants taken in remained high, even though local birth rates were declining.
Oh.
Yeah. Um, so the point here is where was the proof that the babies are coming from the outside? And this is where the conspiracy starts. So, not only that, but the records that these foundling hospitals kept were not descriptive, very vague, and again, purposefully anonymous.
Okay.
So the conspiracy starts with these people are like cloning, right? They're making these babies. It's yes.
I feel like every week we have to say this. We don't believe in what we say.
No, 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 no. This is literally just the conspiracy. So,
I just remember that one person who thought we actually believed in some
yeah,
of the things we
yeah,
talk
it's
about. I just want to put a reminder out there that just because
yeah.
we say it doesn't mean we believe
We
it.
believe it. It's just what we found on the internet. Okay, it's yeah.
Sorry.
So, children who just appeared in folklore,
Mhm.
um, actually had many different names. Sometimes they were known as changelings,
Yeah.
which we've talked about before.
Mhm.
Um, 1700s folklore, there was a little bit of a nicer term, Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
So this came from the saying that little boys came from cabbage patches and little girls came from rose bushes. But either way, there was this weird folklore that children could be grown from the ground.
Mhm.
Much like another, like, hey, the stork brings them, or they just show up on your front porch.
Yeah.
We grow them in our garden. That's a fun story. That wouldn't traumatize any young child. Anyway, um, there was even a silent film produced in 1896 called La Fée aux Choux, or The Fairy of the Cabbages.
Ooh.
And I would recommend you watch it. It's very short. It's
Okay.
like maybe 30 seconds. And it basically depicts this newly wed couple on their farm. Although the videos that I saw of it really just showed the woman, the fairy.
Mhm.
Um, but the lore of the film is that it's this newlywed couple. They live on a farm, and a a fairy appears in their cabbage patch, and she just walks around to all these cabbage plants and grabs babies from behind them, and it's like like she's plucking them from the ground.
I love that.
It's weird, and it's silent and black and white, so it's kind of creepy, right? It's not. It doesn't. It just gives weird vibes. Um, so I would watch it just 'cause it is kind of funny, but it's also, like, unsettling. Especially because these are obviously real babies in the film, and she's just grabbing them by the
Oh,
arm.
yeah, they don't have CGI back then.
No, they're
She's grabbing them by the I was
like,
imagining her, like, picking them up by the little patch of hair, like
no, no. Like, they're babies.
Yeah.
Like, what? It's weird. It's weird. So, now I wanna jump back to the incubator babies.
Okay.
When I was doing the research on this, I legitimately thought to myself, "Where the actual fuck are all these babies coming from?"
Mhm.
Like, why are there so many? Because these exhibits happen for 40 years. Babies in incubators.
I mean, I have a theory.
I'm excited to hear it. I just don't understand where they're all coming from.
I think they're coming from unwed women who were forced to give birth in private, which is why they're
Mm.
not on record at the hospital for giving birth.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Or it's clones.
One or the other. There's no
there's
other
no in
option.
between. It's one or the other. Um, so it turns out that I'm not the only one who thought about that before, because these conspiracies they exist. So, um, the theory is that these babies were made almost mechanically, like
Mhm.
test tube babies, like how we can make a baby without the parts. We just need the DNA,
Yeah.
right? Um, So the story that Coney told was that he was saving all these babies that hospitals couldn't treat or save, and he was a hero, pioneer of medicine. But again, there was no paper trail, even from the hospitals.
Mhm.
Like, there was no paper trail that these babies were being born. There's no birth certificates, anything showing where these infants came from. They just kept showing up. Um, so
I wonder if there was like a serial rapist at that time who was
maybe,
because a woman wouldn't be believed about that, and
right?
even if they were assaulted and they were raped, their babies weren't going to be they were gonna be
Yeah,
bastards, and
bastards,
they were gonna be cast out, their moms would be cast out, the babies
right?
would be cast out. So I wonder if there was just, like, a serial rape, and that wasn't, like, a
Maybe.
thing, it was always a thing,
Sure,
okay?
yeah,
Men
yeah.
were always menning,
Women have always been raped, so
but that wasn't, like, a term, like, we didn't even use the term serial killers until I think the '70s or '60s.
hmm,
Like, so serial rapist wasn't it? But I wonder if, like, that's what happened, and that's why
maybe.
it increased so because there wasn't protection back then.
Right.
Like, there wasn't
Yeah.
and not that serial rapists use condoms.
Right,
Sometimes they do,
but
sometimes they don't.
it dep
Anyways,
anyway,
basically what I'm saying is, like, they weren't on birth control, there was no protection against that, so if somebody
right,
was, like, going around raping a bunch of people and they knew their lives were gonna be destroyed because of it, they wouldn't have gone to the hospital, so it would have looked like the birth weight was going down because you can't get pregnant if you're already pregnant by a rapist.
right.
so they're not getting pregnant by, like, their actual partners,
Mhm.
and then they're having the babies in secret, and
Mhm.
they're a lot of women are ashamed when they are raped, and you
Mhm.
guys shouldn't be, which is why they're doing it so anonymously. They're just, like,
Right.
giving the baby up because they just wanna put it past them,
Yeah.
which is
Also,
understandable.
I'm sure affairs still happened back then. So, like, if you get
That
pregnant by
too.
another man.
I was just trying to think of a reason why it increased so much because I
Mhm.
don't think there was just, like, a cheating train going on where everybody
No.
started cheating on
Yeah.
everybody. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I was just trying to think of, like, a reason why
Widespread, yeah.
it increased so much so fast,
Right.
and that was, like, the first thing that my brain went to, which is
Yeah,
sad.
that is sad. So the weird part about and the connection to Cabbage Patch Kid
Mhm.
dolls is that I don't know if you remember, but when they first came out, they would be sold with birth certificates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and they weren't like um marketed as come buy this toy. They were like come adopt this Cabbage Patch Kid. And some of them even came with, like, fingerprints and footprints. I did see a video on TikTok. Again, this is the internet, so anything can be fake, and it probably is.
Yeah.
But there was a woman who found her old Cabbage Patch doll birth certificate, and it had the thumbprint and the footprint, and she, like, used AI to see if it was, like, real or not. And they didn't come back with a person, but AI told her that, like, just the way that it was uniquely marked and the smudges, like, they were real, like, fingerprints and footprints.
But AI is stupid.
Again, yeah, exactly. So take that with a grain
AI
of salt. I don't believe
is
that, but
very wrong about
most of the time.
a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
second you say AI, I'm just like, even if she did really do
Right.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
AI is stupid.
So that's
And destroying our Earth. Stop using AI.
yes. Data centers? No. Um, so basically, the thought is that babies were being mass produced to start the repopulation of people.
Mm,
Um, the little bit of merit to this is that this was also happening at a time where America was obsessed with eugenics. So we were obsessed with
was at a time where we're obsessed.
whale, it's where it started.
I don't think there was ever a time where we weren't. We still are.
That being said, um, it was running rampant in America at this time. Everyone was obsessed with who was allowed to repopulate and having
Mhm.
a one true race. Um, there's also conspiracies about something called the reset,
Okay.
which basically is the thought that something happened on purpose to remove one piece of history
Mm,
and completely like just rebrand human population.
okay.
So make the babies. This is a whole new generation of people who aren't going to remember. What do we do with the people who do remember? We also started building insane asylums during this time. So the conspiracy there is that these insane asylums, and they were built before like these cities were up and running.
Yeah.
So there's like huge buildings, like just giant. I mean, you've seen pictures of old insane asylums. They're giant.
Insane asylums back then actually used to be, like, self-functioning,
Mhm.
so they would have, like, farms and stuff, and they would make the patients pick their food, milk their cows, some would even be, like, big enough to have their own, post office and stuff like that,
Mhm.
so they were giant, and they were super
Yeah, like
self-serving so that
self-sustained.
nobody would ever go there
Mhm. Yeah,
and can't see what's happening there.
exactly. So, um, yeah, the people are saying, well, what if these insane asylums were made specifically for the families of children who were removed from their families because those are the people who would really truly remember that part of history. And children would remember it too. However, when they go to their new home on in the Midwest,
Mhm.
they're taught an entirely different history. Like, this is
Yeah.
what you believe now. If you don't, we're sending you to the asylum.
And what do they do at the asylum? Fry your brains
Yes.
or shove ice
Ice picks
picks
through your
through
eyeball.
your eyeball
Yeah.
into your brain
Yep. Um,
until MK Ultra started. Then they started doing a whole bunch of. Oh yeah, I forgot I told you I was gonna do that because she doesn't
yeah.
know about MK Ultra. So
I
I
don't know a
was.
whole lot about MK Ultra. I know that at one point there was a TV like broadcast interruption of what was supposed to be MK Ultra. It was a guy like in a mask and the behind it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. That's
I
crazy. I don't like that. But
I will put that on my agenda because I
okay.
think that would be great for mental health awareness month.
yeah. Okay. So asylums
Yeah.
are another piece of like, hey, this could be real.
Yeah.
um, because why, if they didn't already have a plan for these buildings and an idea of how many people they would hold, would they make them so large? It's weird. It's
Mhm.
weird. I'm not saying I believe it. It's just weird. Um, so now let's go talk about the orphans
Okay.
running rampant. Tens of thousands. Sorry. Tens of thousands of children were displaced in the early 1800s. History suggests for all of these children is that in the urban areas on the East Coast, business was blooming and people were just essentially having more sex than they could care for. Um,
Right on.
yeah. Which led to parents abandoning their children because they couldn't afford to have them, even though business was,
Yeah.
good. It wasn't good enough to have, 10 kids a household.
Yeah.
um, so there are actually some people who believe that some of these kids were just in the streets at the wrong time or were removed from their families altogether on purpose. Um, One of the adults who rode on the orphan train when she was a child was quoted as saying, I just finished eating and this matron came by and tapped us along the head. You're going to Texas. You're going to Texas. While some of the kids, clapped and laughed, when she came to me, I looked up. I said, I can't go. I'm not an orphan. My mother's still living. She's in a hospital right here in New York. You're going to Texas. No use arguing. So, there are a lot of
Kid was
stories.
just like, all right, I tried.
Yeah, right, right.
Oh,
So there's also a lot of stories of people who experienced the train stating that a lot of the time the children were scared, didn't know what their future held. They were being separated from their families, eventually lost contact. And then older children, like double digits, early teens, were encouraged to make a complete break from their past. Um, and then once a child got to their new lives, there was not a formal way they were introduced into families. They essentially just sent a letter out to everyone stating that the kids were here, and then people would come and it was literally like a animal shelter where you go pick your dog. These people would come out and just pick their kids that they wanted.
I feel like I watched a movie or a show where that happened. Was it Anne with an E?
I don't know.
I think that's the name of the show. It's called like Anne with an E, and I think
Yeah,
that's where I watched it. I don't know. I might be wrong. Sorry. Continue.
interesting.
But I specifically remember like that happening in a show that I watched where there were a bunch of kids. They got off the train and there was just like
Mhm.
a bunch of adults waiting,
Mhm.
and they were like seeing which one they wanted.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's basically what happened.
yeah,
It was weird. Um, so as far as their lives after being adopted, it's very mixed. Lots of families who took in these kids actually loved the kids and, supported them and gave them a great new life. While others state that they never really felt like they belonged and were seen as just cheap labor. And there were also signs that they suffered abuse in their new homes.
yeah.
So the main conspiracy here is, was the goal to actually help these children, or was the goal more so to help us grow communities further west? And in order to do that, the people needed slaves. Um, or was there something more sinister, like the reset, that these babies survived but were not meant to remember and were only meant to repopulate and create a new history?
I don't believe that, sorry.
I don't believe that either. One thing that I didn't write down because I didn't know if I would have time to mention, but the reason that the incubator fad stopped was because in 1911 there was a exhibit going on in Coney Island,
Mhm.
and s- the story is that a carnival worker spilled hot tar on this ride called like Hellfire or something like that,
Okay.
and it caused a fire. It burned down the entire like Coney Island. It was just gone. The entire fair was gone. Nothing survived except the babies.
Oh, that's weird. I
Very
mean, I'm
weird.
glad the baby survived, but that's weird.
Yes, yes. So that's the story of Cabbage Patch Kids.
That is crazy.
It's weird. It's definitely weird.
That's crazy. I
Mhm.
think my theory is right, but I really, really hope it's wrong.
Yeah, I don't like the thought of thousands of women being raped and then having thousands of babies.
Yeah.
Ugh, scary. So,
Because a man can rape 2, 3 women a day and impregnate 2 or 3 women, but somehow it's
mhm.
still the woman who are at fault for how many babies we have and how
Yeah.
many abortions we have. All right.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I'm
Um,
excited.
so this week, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to bring awareness to a brave woman who had a huge role in changing how insane asylums operated back then.
Okay.
And I'm going to call them insane asylums because that is what they were called,
Mhm.
not what they are called now. Now, I actually don't know what they're called.
I
I
feel
think
like
it's
they're just called like mental
hosp
health institutions
yeah,
or something like that,
yeah.
you know,
Because I think even like
behavioral health,
for even like the really bad ones, it's like the institution for um the criminally and
criminally insane.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So today, I'm going to be telling you guys the story of Elizabeth Cochran Seaman, better known for her pen name, Nellie Bly. Have you ever heard of her?
I've heard the name Nellie Bly. Yeah.
Really? Do you know anything about her?
No.
Okay. Well, you're about to know everything about her.
Okay. I think she actually came up when I was doing my research because asylums were a big part of the conspiracy. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was funny because it related so much, like the kids and
Yeah.
the asylum, and that it happened in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So that's
Funny.
funny. We did not plan
We
that at
didn't
all,
know. We didn't talk about
who we were
what we
doing.
were doing. Yeah.
We have our notes in 2 different, like, tabs
Mhm.
of our document so that we can't see each other's notes.
Yeah.
Alright, so Elizabeth was born on May 5th, 1864, so
Well,
happy
happy
late
belated
birthday.
birthday.
She was the 13th child out of 15.
Dang, Catholic.
I think just old.
Just yeah,
Just
yeah.
1800s.
People had a lot of kids back then.
Well, that goes back to the lack of birth control thing.
Yeah. My grandma had 8 kids.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Anyway.
And then by her father George, because the 15 kids were by 2 different wives.
Okay.
And then her dad passed away when she was only 6 years old.
Mm.
So she grew up wanting to go to school. She did attend school in Pittsburgh, but nope, yes. But unfortunately, she had to drop out because of finances and not being able to afford to go to college because
Mhm.
she was an orphan.
Oh.
Yes. So in 1885, there was an article written in the Pittsburgh Dispatch called What Girls Are Good For.
Oh boy. Already mad.
And basically, they said that the only thing that we're good for is making babies, making dinner, and making clean floors.
Okay. Great.
When Elizabeth read that, she decided to write a response back under the pen name Lonely Orphan Girl.
Aw.
And the editor of the column was so impressed by her that he offered her the opportunity to write a piece for the newspaper under that same pen name.
Hmm.
And the article that she wrote was called The Girl Puzzle. And in that, she argued that not all women need to be married and would be married, and that what was really needed was better jobs for women.
Wow. Good for her.
The
The kick
second
pocket.
article she wrote, it was called Mad Marriages, where
Mm.
she talked about how divorce affected women. In it, she argued for reform for divorce laws, and this article would be the first time she used the pen name Nellie Bly.
Okay.
Yes. She used Nellie Bly instead of the lonely orphan girl because back then it was normal for a woman journalist to conceal their gender so
Mhm.
readers wouldn't discredit
Mhm.
what was said because,
Yeah.
silly old woman.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
What
also
possibly can't that possibly can't be true what she's saying?
no, but also, like, around this, in the future, there's, like, Salem witch trials, so you would be branded a witch if you spoke out against society. So there's a lot of reasons why women would conceal their
Yeah.
that's
Was
scary.
the Salem witch
I
trials
think
the
it
18
was
I think it was the 1600s.
was it
I
really that long ago?
I think so. Yeah, I'm on a laptop. One second.
We need to go to Salem.
I love it.
I have also been to Salem, but it's one of
Okay,
those experiences where
1 year anniversary. We'll go
okay,
to Salem.
okay,
So next October.
okay. That sounds good.
Because oh, well, I mean, no, it would be next February. Okay, so not 1 year anniversary because that
But,
is
like
literally right after your wedding.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm not taking
Well,
my honeymoon to Salem, Massachusetts. No offense to Lizzie Borden,
near
but
there, we'll go to Salem.
yeah,
Maybe like a month or 2
yeah.
after.
Yeah, I love Salem. It's one of those experiences where like you can do it multiple times and it's different every time. It's so good. I've been a couple times.
Yeah, 1600s.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So it was prior
uh,
to all this.
very
But still.
prior
But still.
by like 200 years.
Okay. Moving on.
So, yep, she she didn't conceal it for fear of being a witch. She concealed it for fear of being discredited because obviously a woman can't say anything smart and true.
Mhm.
And then after this article, her editor was so impressed by her that he actually offered her a full-time job at the paper,
Wow.
which she accepted.
Nice.
So, Elizabeth focused her work on the lives of working women and started a series of investigative articles on female factory workers. And she
Okay.
actually went undercover as a poor woman to get hired at a copper cable company to get firsthand experience on how bad the working conditions were for women and children in a typical factory setting. Because this was before child labor laws,
Mhm.
so kids were put to work. And I think that also goes into play with where your kids were going.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the reason that the orphan train stopped is because in the 1920s, the government was like, hey, this seems a little unethical. So, yeah.
Yes. Um, so a lot of people applauded her for shining light on what I would say was a very thinly veiled truth about what was happening there because
Mhm.
women had been speaking out about what was happening
Yeah.
for years, but they're just women, so no one took them seriously. We needed
Mhm.
somebody named Nellie Bly to tell them.
Yeah.
However, the newspaper started getting a lot of complaints from factory owners about her writing, and she was then assigned to cover women's pages, which would be like fashion, society, gardening, basically what the usual
Yeah.
woman journalist would write.
Mhm.
So she became dissatisfied with that and decided to do what no other woman did, and she left and went to Mexico to serve as a foreign correspondent.
Wow.
Yes. And she spent 6 months reporting on the lives and customs of the Mexican people. And again, this is like the 1800s, so
Yeah. That's huge.
that's not like a thing, especially for a woman to do.
Mhm.
Her articles were later published into a book form called 6 Months in Mexico. In one report, she protested the imprisonment of local journalists for criticizing the Mexican government, then criticizing a dictatorship under Porfirio Diaz. And when Mexican authorities learned of Elizabeth's reports, they threatened to arrest her, which prompted her to flee the country.
She's like, "Okay, I'm out."
She was like, I am not fit for a Mexican prison.
My
I'm
work here
not
is
fit for
done.
any prison. So when she was safely home, she accused Diaz of being a tyrannical czar
Mm,
because he was suppressing the Mexican people and controlling the press. So
mhm.
she was just a badass. She was just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Go Nelly.
Go Nelly. And when she came back, the editor was like, when she came back from Mexico,
Mhm.
her editor started giving her, like, the same types of articles that made her leave in the first place, like the
Yeah.
gardening, the family stuff. So, she decided to quit and move to New York City. She was
Hmm.
like, "I am done with this." But in New York, no one would hire a woman. Even though she had experience, even though she wrote all of these articles, she went
Mhm.
to Mexico, she was doing, like, investigative journalism. Because she was a woman, no one really cared. So after 4 months of working and now being completely penniless, she talked her way into the office of Joseph Pulitzer's newspaper, The New York World, and she took an undercover assignment for which she agreed to pretend to be insane to investigate reports of brutalty and neglect at the women's lunatic asylum on Blackwell's Island.
Girl, that's crazy. Oh my gosh, pretending to be insane? Like, was she not afraid that she was gonna get, like, her brain jiggled around? That's crazy.
Well, I mean, they didn't know what was happening to the patients
Oh,
in that was the whole
that was
point.
the point.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Still, that's crazy.
That is crazy,
That's
and
brave.
she said in her book that she didn't really believe the,
Mhm.
conspiracies, like, she didn't believe the rumor and the gossip mill that they were being mistreated. She was like, "Well, these are sick people, they're with they're with doctors, like, they're being treated the way they're supposed to be treated." So she didn't really have any fear going in.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense why I would have fear because I know the history now, but
yeah.
that's crazy.
You knew they were sticking ice picks in people's eyes.
Right, right.
She just heard gossip about it, and she was like,
Also,
"Oh."
I don't believe that all the people in there were doctors because my guy, Martin Coney, said that he studied medicine in Germany, but there's no documentation that he actually practiced medicine. He didn't have a
Yeah.
degree, anything
I
like that.
mean,
So,
back then you could just say you were. No one
yeah,
fact
and
checked
people would
you.
believe you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no question.
There was no Google. Alright, so when she first took the job, she asked her boss, like, "How are you guys gonna get me out? Like, how long am I gonna be in there?"
Mm.
And they were like, "We're gonna send you in for 7 days. We don't know how we're gonna get you out, but don't worry, we will."
And she was like, okay.
I mean, at this point, she was penniless, like, and this is the first
Yeah.
time she was gonna get a job. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
she
yeah.
she
I
needed.
understand her reasonings.
Yes. So, she was like, Alright," and then it was pretty much up to her how she went about doing this.
Okay.
Her only rule was that she had to be honest about what she saw, like, not just write about the bad things.
Mhm.
Like, her feelings didn't matter.
Yeah.
If you saw something good, write about it. If you saw something bad, write about it. Like,
Yeah, you
it's
have to be
it
unbiased.
yes, and that was basically, like, her only
Okay,
instructions.
that's fun.
So, she decided to get admitted into the facility by staying at the temporary house for females, which was a boarding house for working women, and then just being crazy there and then having them, like, basically, call the cops on her and
Gotcha. Have her admitted.
yeah.
Hmm.
So that was her goal because there was really only 2 ways to get sent to that island, which is doing that or by being crazy in front of your friends and having your friends commit you, and she was, like, a journalist, so she knew, like, that wasn't gonna
Yeah.
happen, and she didn't wanna bring, like, her family into this.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So, she decided to stay at the boarding house, and do you know how much she paid for a night at the boarding house?
How much?
30 cents per night.
That's crazy. That's probably really expensive back then.
I actually don't know, I should have done the conversion, I did not.
They charged him 25 cents to see the incubator babies.
Mm.
So,
So more than incubators are worth
yeah.
or no.
Yeah.
In her book, she said that she only brought 70 cents because she knew that if she ran out of money, they would lock her up quicker, and she didn't know how much it was to stay there
Mm, mhm.
'cause nothing gets you locked up faster than being poor.
Yeah.
While she was in the boarding house, she had to share a room with another girl, and because there were so many women there.
Mhm.
And she kept telling her roommate that everyone looked weird there and that there were too many working people and people shouldn't have to work and that everyone there looked crazy and they were going to murder people and you never know what crazy people are going to do
I was hoping that you would tell us how she got admitted because there's so many. I mean, women would go to insane asylums for
for
like
anything.
anything, you
Yeah.
know.
She just kept saying that people shouldn't work. So then at night, she refused to sleep. She just sat up in her bed all night staring. And this obviously terrified her
Yeah.
roommate, and
Yep.
her roommate, like, was like, "I'm not sleeping with her.
Yeah.
Somebody else needs to sleep with her. You guys need to kick her out or something." Like, "I'm not sleeping with
Yeah.
her." So then
Understandable.
another woman who was, like, super nice to her,
Oh,
like, volunteered to sleep with her and actually ended up putting, like, a blanket around her so she wouldn't get cold at night and was, like, just
that's so
talking to her like a
sweet.
mom who was
Aw.
talking to, like, a wounded child. It was really
That's
nice.
so nice.
So then the next morning, Elizabeth was like, "I gotta turn this up a notch."
Mhm.
So she started having a tantrum and she was like, "I can't find my trunk. Where's my trunk? I need my trunk." And just like throwing a fit about her lost luggage. Um, and when people were trying to like help her find it, she just kept saying that everybody looked crazy and she didn't know what they were gonna do to her. So then they called the cops on her.
Yeah. Oh.
So she lasted one single day in the
Yeah.
boarding house.
She did a good job.
She did do a good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, I read her book last night. It was very short.
I was gonna say you read a whole fucking book.
Y'all, I don't
It
sleep.
was so I mean, not completely shocking because I know you, but, like, what?
And in her book, she was like, "I really didn't know how to act like a crazy person. I've never seen a crazy person before. I've never been around them, so I don't really know what to do. So I'm just gonna not sleep. I'm just gonna keep my eyes wide because I hear that they don't blink as much." And
Mhm.
it was just funny that she got sent very fast when she was like
Yeah.
worried that she wouldn't
She
be
wouldn't
able to
pass, yeah.
convince anybody that she was crazy.
Hmm.
All right, so they called the cops. The cops took her to a judge, and in her book, she said that the judge was really nice. Sorry, y'all, I really didn't sleep. That the judge was really nice, and she said that she hoped that all women who were, like, actually truly sick were able to get a judge as nice and kind as he was, because that's what they deserved.
He.
Yes,
Interesting.
and the judge, which I know this was written in the 1800s, so, like, she didn't see it as a red
Mhm.
flag, but I kind of did. The In her story, in the book, she said that the judge was like, "You know, you seem like a very kind lady. You definitely belong to someone. Like, you're such a darling. Everybody needs to treat her nicely because she looks like my daughter."
Oh,
That kinda takes away the niceness
okay.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
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 So she was like, "Yeah, you have to treat her nicely because she reminds me of my daughter. She looks like my daughter, so everybody treat her nicely."
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but anyways, he treated her very nice. Elizabeth said that he was very kind, that he, like, had a kind face, and, like, she could tell from she said before she even talked to him, like, she looked at his face and she was worried because he looked so kind and he gave up such, like, nice vibes that he wasn't
He
gonna
wasn't
commit
gonna
her.
commit her? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I said what I said, but he must have just been, like, a nice guy either way because before he
Right.
even talked to her, she was worried about that.
You can definitely tell. It's
Yeah.
in the eyes.
Exactly. So but he did declare her insane because
Mhm.
in front of the judge, she was still talking about her luggage. He asked where she came from and she was like, or he asked if she was a foreigner and she was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, where are you from? Like, what made you come to New York?" And she was like, "I've never been to New York." And he was like, "You're in New York right now." And she was like, "Nope, I've been here." And just like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was silly.
I
So,
wish I could meet this woman. This is like investigative journalism, like, top tier.
yeah. So she was great. She got committed. They sent her to a hospital, for, like, uh, examination for a few days,
Mhm.
and she said in the book that she was worried that she wasn't going to be able to fool, like, professionals,
Mm.
but she did, and then she was shipped off to a boat and sent to the island a few days later. But here's the kicker. The second Elizabeth got off that boat onto the island, she stopped acting insane. She wanted to see how they would treat a normal woman.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. So at the island, she never once pretended to be mentally ill. She was completely sane.
Wow.
And she wrote that the more sane she acted, the crazier they thought she was,
Mhm.
which is crazy. And even though she was acting sane and lucid, she was still forced to undergo the same treatments and torture as the other patients.
Mhm.
So even though she would be like, I'm not sick, and even though she wasn't acting sick, she was still being treated the same.
Right.
After a few days, she started to plead with them to release her because she was not sick and she was
Mhm.
fine, but they refused to let her go.
Hmm.
During her stay, Elizabeth experienced the horrible conditions firsthand. The nurses behaved, in her words, obnoxiously and abusively, telling the patients to shut up and beating them if they did not. The food consisted of gruel broth, spoiled meat, bread that was little more than dried dough, and dirty, undrinkable water.
Hmm.
Their dangerous patients were tied to each other and tied to the beds and forced to lay in bed for days at a time.
That's horrible.
The patients were not the dangerous patients, just like the normal patients,
Mhm.
were all made to sit for hours at a time each day on hard benches with very little protection from the cold. There was waste all around the places where they would eat, so they would have to eat their gross food next to a bunch of trash.
Yeah.
And there were rats crawling all over the hospital.
Mm.
And on her experiences, she wrote, "What? Expecting torture would produce insanity quicker than this treatment? Here is a class of women sent to be cured. I would like the expert physicians who were condemning me for my action, which has proven their ability to take a perfectly sane and healthy woman, shut her up, make her sit from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. on straight back benches, do not allow her to talk or move during these hours, give her no reading, and let her know nothing of the world or its doing, give her bad food and harsh treatment, and see how long it takes to make her insane.
Mhm.
2 months would make her a mental and physical wreck."
Yeah.
Another memorable experience Elizabeth said or talked about were the baths that the patients got. The bath water was frigid and the buckets were poured over their heads, after which the patients were roughly washed and scrubbed by the nurses. And then the bath water wouldn't be changed.
Ew.
So the next patient would have to bathe in the same filthy water, whether that patient was sick or not.
That's disgusting.
And even when the water was eventually changed, the staff did not scrub or clean out the bath. So they just threw the next patient in the stained, dirty tub.
Mm.
The patients also shared bath towels, with healthy patients being forced to dry themselves with towels previously used by patients with like skin infections, boils, and open sores.
Gross.
Elizabeth recalled the bathing ritual with disgust, saying, "My teeth chattered and my limbs were goose fleshed and blue with cold. Suddenly, I got one after the other, 3 buckets of water over my head, ice cold water too, into my eyes, my nose, and my mouth."
Ugh.
After 10 days, her boss finally secured her release from the asylum.
It's about time. Oh my god.
10 days of this. Her report published in The World, the newspaper, and later released as a book, which is what I read last night,
I need to
and it
read
was
this.
very well. Oh, yeah. I will give it to you.
Okay.
I don't have it in person, but,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'll show you where I got it. And caused a and there's also a movie with Christina Ricci playing her.
Oh, I don't know if I wanna watch that. I do,
I
but
haven't watched it. I need
Eee.
to. I'm going to watch it tonight. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt myself. Um
Sorry, so
Her report, published in The World and later released as a book, caused a sensation and brought her lasting fame. Of the release, or of her release from the island, Elizabeth wrote, I left the insane ward with pleasure and regret. Pleasure that I was once more able to enjoy the free breath of heaven. Regret that I could not have brought with me some of the unfortunate women who lived and suffered with me and who I am convinced are just as same as I was and now.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's report prompted a grand jury to launch its own investigation with Elizabeth assisting them, and the jury's report resulted in $850,000 increase in the budget of the Department of Public Charities and Corrections. The grand jury also ensured that the future examinations were more thorough that and such that only the seriously ill were committed to the asylum because they got a lot of shit that a sane person was
Yeah.
sent there.
Wow.
But and her report also led to a lot of other investigations of their local insane asylums, and it brought a lot of corrections and, like, fixings of insane asylums. I mean, of course, they still
Yeah.
treated the mentally ill
Yeah.
horrible, but she did lead the way of stopping that.
That's awesome.
And later, she actually decided to do, the book Around the World in 85 Days?
Mhm.
She did that
Oh,
and wrote a report about it.
nice.
So she's just an amazing woman.
Yeah.
She did die in the 1920s, because obviously she was born in the 1800s, so
Right. That was, like, sad, but also a happy a
yeah,
happy little story. Huh.
that is my segment for today.
Why did they used to put insane asylums on islands? Is it just so they can't escape and get back into society?
I mean, not all of them were on islands, this one just happened to be.
Yeah, I was thinking of, like, Alcatraz and then
Well, that's a prison, not it.
yeah,
And that was a prison for, like that was, like, a maximum security
maximum
prison, so that
security.
was so that like, that one was specifically made so that
Mhm.
if you tried to escape, you would be eaten by sharks, and you couldn't.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why they opened this one on an island.
Hmm. Just maybe space.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
no idea. It is New York, and New York is, like, on the
Yes.
edge where they do have a lot of islands, so that
That's
didn't
true.
really, like
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really think anything of it when I saw that it was an island.
Yeah. I have you ever seen Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio?
I think so that's where he was, like, crazy at the end?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the whole movie, you're sitting here thinking that he's like an FBI investigator and they're going to investigate the literally what Elizabeth did. They're
Yeah,
going to
and his
investigate
partner was there with him, and then the
his
partner ends
partner.
up to be, like, a doctor or something.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
partner's his like psychologist and he goes through periods of lucidity where he remembers what he actually did and it ends up like he killed his family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did watch that. It
Oh
took
no,
me a
no, no.
second.
His wife killed his kids
I don't I watched it so long ago and I only watched it
and then he
once,
went
but
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Wow.
Alright, and that is all for our segments today. Do
Yeah.
you have a beef of the week?
Yes.
Okay.
So, my beef of the week is that people can complain about the cold and the snow and the ice and the ick, but I can't complain about the heat and the sun and the ick.
I mean, just be like me and complain about everything.
That's
Who's stopping you?
such a good idea. Such a good idea. It just bothers me because I'm so sorry that my favorite season is winter. I'm happy for you that you like summer, but you complain all throughout my favorite season. So I'm going to do it to you.
I do complain throughout your favorite season.
Yeah.
I hate the cold. I also hate summer because it gets too hot.
Mhm.
I like the fall.
Yeah.
That is my favorite
Fall
season.
is yeah. Well, winter's my favorite, but
Yeah.
fall is a close second. Those fall nights, they're just
Yeah,
great.
it's beautiful outside.
Mhm.
It's not super cold. Everything is cinnamon and apple scented.
Yes.
Ugh,
Halloween. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Fall is great. And you don't have to like winter. That's not what I'm saying. You don't have to like it. just don't give me a bunch of shit about
Liking it.
liking it
Yeah.
and then not, complaining about summer. Like,
I
just let me
feel
have
that.
this, and I'll
I
let
feel
you
that.
have your summer, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just hate them
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
I wanna live I'm sure there's not this place. I just wanna live in a place where it's just, like, where I can be comfy wearing sweaters and pants
Mhm.
every single day, all day, no matter what the season. You know
Yeah.
how, like, summer, California is always, like, kind of nice, like, warmer, kind of like beginning of summer feels?
Mhm.
I want a state that's like that, but with fall vibes, because I don't wanna
Yeah.
wear t-shirts every day, all day. I wanna
Right.
wear sweaters because 'cause they're just,
Yes.
like, nice,
Sweaters.
they're comfy. I like cardigans where you can just, like, wrap yourself.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
wanna live somewhere where it's just, like, 73 every single day.
73 is too hot, but
Okay, okay, true. Most people think 73 is hot. I think that's the perfect weather, and I will wear a sweater outside if it's 73.
yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I wanna take my sweater off right now indoors.
This, this weekend coming up is my sister's graduation party, and my mom was like, "What are you gonna wear?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna wear, like, a sweater with a skirt and tights," and she was like, "It's mid-May, like, what are you talking about?" And I
Mhm.
was like, "It's gonna be 67, that's freezing."
That's, like, perfect weather. Are you kidding?
That's exactly what my mom said. She
Yeah.
was like, "That's the perfect weather," and I'm
Mhm.
like,
That's cool.
"That's cold for me. I'm gonna wear my sweater, and I'm gonna wear my boots, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
wear my tights,
Yep.
but
You
I'll
do
wear a
you.
skirt."
You do you. But yeah, that's my beef of the week.
Alright, my beef of the week is parents who don't discipline their kids,
Mm.
and then when they act up in public, they, like, blame you for it.
For having a problem with how their kid is
Yeah.
behaving. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I was at a baby shower a few weeks ago, and this kid came up and hit my daughter,
Mm-mm.
and she told me, and I was like, "Well, if she hits you, tell her no the first time. If she hits you again, hit her back hard." And my thing is, don't start it, but make sure you finish it. If she's gonna push you, push her down hard enough that she can't get back up and push you again.
Mhm.
So if somebody punches you, punch them hard enough that they're gonna be too scared to punch you again.
Yeah.
Like, don't let them
Mhm.
get a second chance to put their hands on you. I didn't know who this kid was, and I didn't realize that her mom was sitting right next to me when I was telling my daughter to hit her. So she, like, gave me a look, and I looked at her, and I was like, "What?" She was like, "You just said to hit my kid." And I was like, "Because your kid hit her." And she was like, "Well, she's just a kid." I was like, "So is my daughter.
Right.
Your kid is older than my daughter.
Yeah.
If your kid is okay with hitting, we're
Right.
okay with
We're okay
hitting.
with hitting. Yeah. Let's all do it.
You don't want your kid to be hit,
Mm-mm.
teach her not
Teach
to
her not
hit."
to hit. Yeah.
So, and then she, like, started going around telling people that I was a bad mom.
Okay.
Discipline your fucking kid. Teach them
Right.
not to hit.
Right.
Because if you hit my kid, she's gonna kick your ass. Because I taught her to do that. And I stand by that.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh my gosh. Parents
So,
are so crazy. Their own kids can do no wrong.
yeah,
You
and I'm
know?
not like that. Like, you
No.
see,
Yeah,
if
no.
my daughter does something bad, I will straight up tell her that she did it bad,
Yeah.
and then we talk about ways to correct
Of
it. I'm
course.
not just
Yeah.
like, "You suck."
Right. Right.
But
Right.
I have another beef of the week, and it's just movies and TV show. Every single kids movie and every single TV show involves bullying.
Mhm.
And, like, it's not even like the moral of the story is to not be a bully at the end.
No.
They're just bullying for fun.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why is it so just normalized to be dicks?
Yeah. I don't I agree. There's, like because it's even, like, little stuff, simple as, like, "Oh, this girl's hair looks weird,"
Yeah.
and then talking to everybody about how her hair looks weird. Something
Or
like
even something as simple as everyone's talking and then, like, one person just, like, makes a rude comment and everybody just, like, brushes it off. Or,
mhm.
like, where they're talking and somebody gets excited and starts talking, they're like, "Ugh, you're being so annoying right now, stop talking." And then it just, like, moves on. Like, there's no, like,
Right.
corrective action about that. Like, why are you teaching like, why are we teaching kids that that's how we should be?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
guess that's my second beef of the week. I
that's
hate
fair.
that. Because that's like a big because now my daughter just like she just
Mhm.
randomly says mean things and she doesn't think they're mean because she
Right.
just
She just
hears
thinks they're
them
normal.
all the time.
Mhm.
And I have to be like, hey, that's mean. You can't say that.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, oh, okay, sorry. And like when she
Right.
thinks about it, she realizes that what she
Yeah.
said is mean.
Right.
But it's just so natural to her because everything has
Mhm.
that. So I started like really limiting what she's allowed to watch. But every single thing
Yeah.
has bullying in it. It's fucking ridiculous. I
Yeah.
hate it so much. Like,
That's annoying.
that is very annoying. And not even like bullying in a friendly way, the way that we do it. Just like
No.
straight up bullying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and kids aren't like a 7-year-old is not developed mentally enough to understand like sarcasm and how we bully each other, right?
Yeah.
There's no they just don't understand
Yeah.
that
There
yet.
shouldn't be bullying at all in
No.
anything for kids unless it is to show that bullying is not nice.
Yes.
Like, if that is the purpose of that,
Mhm.
then yeah.
Yeah.
But there's like so many shows where there's just like, oh yeah, that's the school bully, and then they end up helping him at the end.
Right. Like what do you
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Man, when I have kids, if I ever hear that my kid is bullying someone,
mm,
that's the end. Mm-mm. You better
yeah.
say goodbye to all your privileges.
It's gonna be lockdown city.
Yeah,
But
I will not take that.
where I did just say that like she says mean things, she doesn't
Mhm.
mean it purpose. My daughter is so
Oh my
sweet,
gosh.
so empathetic. She would
She's
never
so
bully
nice.
someone
No. No, no, no.
as if unless it's me.
Yeah. I wanted to cry when she came out this morning and she said, Miss Stephanie. And she came over and like hugged me. I was like, oh my God.
She literally is just like
It
the
was
sweetest
sweetest.
kid.
She's so sweet.
Unless it's me, then she's mean. All right, so that will be all for today's episodes of Plot Twists and Punchlines. Follow our TikTok at plot twist underscore punchlines pod and on Insta at plot twist underscore punchlines underscore podcast. Steph, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at StephSmilesXX or on TikTok at Vessel, Vessiil. What about you?
You can find me at Mel of a Time. It's like hell of a time, but with only one L. And with Mel.
It's okay. If this made you laugh, feel seen, or just forget the world for a minute, we're so glad you're here. Your support means the world to us. If you want to support us by more than just listening, you can follow our Patreon and become part of our inner circle. Choose from 2 different monthly donations, each with their own perks.
And please don't forget to follow, rate, and review because it really helps us out.
And share this with a friend who needs a laugh or a break too.
Come back for more laughs, hot takes, and monthly book talk book chaos. Bye!